have Steve out about it. We were talking young women in leadership with two people who know it well. Dr. Trisha Medeiros, head of the upper school at Stuart Country Day School of the Sacred Heart and director of Stuart Center for Girls Leadership, and also Pam McGowen is a senior at Stuart Country Day School of the Sacred Heart and also president of the student government at the school. I want to thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Talk to us about leadership and young women and your school and why it's so important.
Well, we really started the center at the school just this year because we were having continued conversations about how we can share best practices in developing leadership. It is very mission-driven. Big part of our mission at Stuart is to develop women of character, to be leaders, to do great things in the world. And the center really has allowed us to develop new programming.
What is Stuart? For those who don't know Stuart, what is Stuart? Stuart
is an all-girls school. We have co-ed in our littlest, age 2 all the way through grade 12. Pam's a senior graduating just this year. And we are a Catholic independent school as well.
You know, I told you before we got on the air, I'm a product of an all-boys Catholic high school way back in the day in Newark, New Jersey, and it had a huge impact on my life. And I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying that for me it was a, dare I use the hackneyed expression, game changer. What has it done for you?
It's definitely done a lot for me. I've been at Stuart since kindergarten, so I've had exposure to an all-girl education for a long time. I think it's really helped to empower me to pursue leadership positions in our school because it's the norm for all the girls to fill all the roles at our school. So,
talk about it. I mean, again, we're also big advocates of public school education and where it works and whatever is best for each individual child. But I'm curious about this. Be more specific. For you, this environment has done what to nurture and foster your sense of leadership?
This environment's given me confidence to really go for the opportunities that my school offers for all-girls education. It's allowed me to connect with a bunch of girls who have the same goal in mind, to just be the best that they could be in the type of environment that we have here at Stuart.
Did you know that you just wanted to be the best you could be? That was your goal early on?
Yeah, that's one thing that I guess, well, everyone at our school, that's the goal for them. So it's normal for that to be the goal.
And running for president, were you pushed, or is that something you wanted to do?
I was encouraged, and by my friends and by my sisters, but I quickly got onto the idea and really realized that it was something that I really loved to do.
Talk about the essence of leadership. I mean, we've also talked about the fact that as a student of leadership, as someone who's taught and written extensively about it and tries to understand leadership, do you believe there's any significant difference between the way young women are taught to be leaders and ultimately become the leaders they're going to be, and young men? Is there a difference?
I think there is. I think there is. I mean, I can speak mostly to what we do with our young women. I think there is definitely a confidence level that needs to be drawn out of our girls and built up over time.
Different than boys?
I think so.
Talk about it.
What I see, you see it in the media. I have a lot of research that talks about how girls can stay back, how they can be a little more reserved around girls. And I can tell you with the all-girls environment, these girls are a little crazy.
What do you mean?
They just, you know, there's a real camaraderie of sisterhood. They're not held back by worrying about some of what our adolescents today worry about when they're in a co-ed situation. And again, it's different for every child. I see that there's a real ability for our girls to work as a team instead of maybe against each other at times. I think what we hope to teach our girls is to celebrate each one's uniqueness, so that when you look to build a team, for example, and that's important in leadership, is that you don't just pick your friends, but you pick people that will complement your strengths and the areas for growth. And I see it in action. It's hard to describe, but there is a clear difference. You know it when you see it.
Isn't that funny about leadership? You know it when you see it, and you know it when you don't. Do you think you'd be more distracted, I'll just use that word, if it were not for the environment you're in right now?
I think I would be, because everyone's really focused on the task at hand. So you don't have the distractions in the environment of an all-girls education.
Now, science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM program at the school. Talk about it.
So we really push our girls to at least try and explore STEM fields. There's about a quarter of the population in STEM jobs that are female, and the number of jobs is supposed to grow exponentially in the next decade. So while not every student will eventually choose to pursue a STEM field, they'll at least have some exposure. Programming, for example, is very important to us. You know, traditionally, the girls that go into science have gone into more biological and medical fields, which is great and noble, but we'd like them to explore a little bit some of the other areas. For example, the other day, I was talking to a young woman about programming using our 3D printer. And I had seen an article where somebody programmed an ultrasound for a blind woman of the unborn baby, and that moment in which they see what that programming can do for great things in the world. I think exposing children to what's out there and providing mentors to talk about that is really important.
By the way, the program, the leadership initiative that we're talking about is the Harris B. Siegel Fund for Student Leadership. That was established, in fact, by our mutual friend Patricia Costanti and her daughter Stephanie back in 2012. And it was Patricia who told us about the work going on at the school. I'm curious about this. What do you hope for these young women in their future? And is it how much they succeed out there in terms of how much money they make and prestige in their job? You're shaking your head no?
No, not at all, not at all. We didn't start this thinking that we were going to push the next generation of women to be leading Fortune 500 companies, but to know within themselves what they are capable of, what they can become, and truly to better the world. And that doesn't mean that you have to make money. It means that you have to find a passion that you love, because that is, you mentioned earlier, I forget the exact words, is you want it to be the best that you can be. When you have a passion, you want to be the best that you can be.
Speaking about that, in my research and my work around leadership, I always ask people who deal with leadership the most important leadership lesson they've learned so far in your many years. What would you say the #1 leadership lesson you learned so far is?
I think the #1 leadership lesson I've learned so far is that it's really important to engage everyone and to get everyone's input in a group, whether or not it's through club meetings or through committees or the town halls that we have at our school. Everyone's input is really important, and it's really significant if you can tap into everyone's
Even when
minds.
they disagree and give you a hard time?
Especially when they disagree, but not when they give you a hard time.
That's the key. It's easier when they agree with you. #1 leadership lesson you learned?
I think letting each child, I mean, for me personally, is listening. I think in teaching, the #1 leadership lesson is to teach to be effective listeners, to build confidence, know yourself, and want to be the best you can be.
I want to thank both of you for joining us and wish both of you great success, particularly you, because I know you're going to make a difference in the lives of other people, which is ultimately what determines how important we are in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both. Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you both.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Health Republic Insurance of New Jersey, the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, Holy Name Medical Center, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, MD Advantage, and by NJ Best. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.